the elephant in the room, the thing I want to address today is Copilot CRM worth coming back to, and what happened specifically. And I know everyone that's watching this has, in some way, shape, or form, been disappointed in Copilot in the past year, in 2024. And so I wanted to give a bit of background. I want to talk about what happened, and then Josh is going to walk us through all the changes that have been made in 2024 to ensure that it is a platform that can be used and is helpful for your business. This is not a sales pitch. Let me be very clear. Um, I know that everyone on this call at some point in time, I let down. And I would say, Christian's on this call. He's from the sales side. He's probably talked to most members. I would say 95 to 98% of people joined in part because my content and the stuff that I put up online to help small businesses. And so I know that you joining is a vote of trust and confidence in myself. And so this is not a sales pitch. This is not like, please come back. This is a matter of, at the very least, I want to say I apologize for what happened and give some clarity as to why that happened and then what we're doing to rectify that. Because at the very least, I want you to know that like I take it very seriously. And the things that were done this year, especially in the first half of 2024, I don't take lightly. So I wanted to kind of give explanation to that. And the people getting this recording and this video are really just the individuals that have experienced that over the past 12 months. So let's get started. So first off, why I started Copilot? Some of you had seen my content for a long time. I see so many home service business owners working 80 hours a week, working crazy hard, insane hours, and they have no money in the bank and they don't know why. And when I looked around at different softwares and different CRMs, it was a matter of, there's a lot of good CRMs out there. There's a plethora of them. I could list off 5 or 10 of them that I think are pretty solid. They've been around for a long time. They do a great job of reporting. They're more stable than Copilot was earlier in 2024 and in our great option. The thing that none of them were doing is actually telling business owners what to do next in their business. And that's the part that I'm passionate about. And if you watch the YouTube videos when I do the turnarounds, I go one by one and basically try to help someone turn around their business. Then what I did here is I basically took the book and I tried to give a roadmap for someone that didn't want to be on the YouTube channel, didn't want to like publicly air all their dirty laundry. And I wanted to be like, here's the steps to turn around your business. There's 13 steps. If you do these, you'll turn around the company. And usually 1 or 2 of these are the main factors. I don't believe that a lot of people comparatively will read that book. What I do believe, even if they read that book, is they will struggle to find which of those is most necessary to implement in their business. I believe software is the thing that when I get the KPIs, when I get the metrics, I'm able to actually diagnose what needs to be changed, what 1 or 2 numbers need to change in order to change the business and turn it around. And so that's what Copilot exists for. And that's what we want to shoot for, especially towards the end of 2025 and going into 2026, as we start to implement, not just seeing the numbers and the reporting, but actually giving suggestions as to what needs to change in the business. So our long-term vision is to make home service business owners rich by telling them what to do and why. Getting to know what your close ratio is a great KPI. Getting to know how many budget hours you have on the schedule, great KPI. It's very good to know that from a scheduling perspective. Unfortunately, in home services, I see time and time again people knowing their numbers, because that is the new trendy thing that we are all pushing, which I'm happy about. Knowing your numbers will not change anything in your business. It is, how do I take those numbers and then actually make meaningful changes in the company? When to hire, when I should raise prices, which services I should be cutting out because they're too complex and I'm not profitable on them. That's what I actually want to be able to tell users and members of Copilot down the road. So I want to kind of recap a little bit here. What happened in 2023? So 2023, we launched Copilot, I believe it was middle of February 2023. And so technically 2024 is our first full year in operation. But in 2023, these are all the features that were added. And most of these were added in the second half of 2023. So sequence automations, before we only had the legacy automations, deposit thresholds. We launched this at Landscape Summit 2023, was the deposit thresholds. On stage, launched it live, we dropped it. And from that moment, October 2023 till January 2024, it took off like a rocket ship. Like there were so many people joining, and in part because a lot of these features are listed here were dropping all at that same time. We had budget hour capacity charts, so you're able to know whether or not you're overbooked. P4P software, the integration is super solid. Now when people go into the P4P app, they can actually see as they clock in and out of jobs in Copilot, how much money they're making as an employee. Multi-location control, also known as command center. So if you have multiple locations, the ability for your office staff to be able to log into one account and access multiple accounts without logging in and out, and they're able to see their time zone in each one, et cetera. Job costing and price matrices, call notes. So that way, every single documented communication with a customer is in a searchable database. And then you have customer notes, which are more sticky for things that you want to see every single time you go into someone's profile. We launched call notes with automated reminders on those. Did the ability to be able, did I just freeze up? Can everyone, is it fine? I don't know why I freezed up, but you guys can see me okay, Lindsay? Is that fine?
You froze up on my side, Mike. You froze up a little bit
Okay.
on my side. Yeah.
I don't know why that happened. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to switch my video to an old fashioned one for a second. I'm going to go, give me 1 second here. I'm going to go to here. Boom. Now you can see me. Let's go. I'm going to try to switch back and see if that somehow randomly fix it. Look at that. Okay, great. We're back in business. Card on file. So one of the things that I was super frustrated with in the past was that when an estimate is sent out, that I cannot get that customer actually on the schedule when they accept the estimate because I require a card on file. I don't want to do service without that card on file. In order to be able to get that in the past, I had to email them, text them, call the customer, like, please get a card on file. Please log in. Hey, that message might have gone to your spam folder because literally in the email, I'm asking you for your credit card information. I'm literally in the email asking for money. That almost always goes to spam. And so that was super frustrating. And so we made it where when someone clicks accept estimate, they have to have a card on file before you even get notified. So when you get notified, immediately you can go ahead and schedule the job. We had upselling from the mobile app. The ability for the crew to be able to, from the mobile app, be able to tap on a service that they see as a need for the customer and be able to immediately send them a text or email and upsell the customer into other services. The wiki page, the KPI cockpit, global search bar. Just so many things were done in 2023, a lot of which happened in the second half of 2023. And later that year is when we just grew exponentially. And that is where the skill gap was very evident. Myself not ever growing a technical company, as well as at the time, my technical co-founder, his abilities and his scope of experience, really know how to scale a company that was growing that fast. And that's what led to January 2024, when we had bug hell. When all of a sudden we literally had over 250 documented bugs inside the system, and probably more of them that we didn't document. And so I did not take this lightly. This was by far and away the most difficult period of time in my career. And the reason for that is not because we started to have to spend 3 to 4 times as much to be able to attract engineers, and we lost lots of money, and we continue to. Not because my businesses were dramatically impacted, and the owners inside of Augusta Nation, who I know personally very, very well. This was a matter of, think about it like this. Like, I always like to think about it like this. And this is what I told some of the franchisees. I said, think of it like all of your customers in one spot that you love a lot, like they've helped you for a long time, they supported you, all being on a Facebook group, and then you disappoint them all at the same time. Like, you make a mistake, like you make a streak on their lawn, or you mess up something on their driveway, something is a mistake, and then all those people get to share what's happening. And that's very, very difficult. It was the hardest part of my career, and I'm determined to make that right. And so I want to introduce Josh. Some of you may have heard of him if you are still in the Facebook group. If you have not heard of him, he has really, really helped us the past 6 to 8 months, full time the past few months, to really retool the team and upgrade the engineering talent using people that have done this before. They have taken small companies and made them very, very big. Josh comes from Active Campaign that does over $200 million in ARR, has over 150,000 active members. And so this is not new to him. And so I really appreciate his contributions. I wanted him to walk us through the technical aspects of what's been done in 2024 to ensure this doesn't happen. And I really appreciate his contributions to the team and to Copilot over the past several months. Josh, take it away.
Cool. Hey, everybody. Nice to meet you. Yeah, my name is Josh Kahle. I'm the VP of Product here at Copilot. Really excited to be here with all of you. Also, I'm just really grateful, Mike, just for the opportunity just to lead this team and work in your organization. I've just been so warmly welcomed by you and your staff, all of Augusta Nation. And like I think many of you on the call, I knew pretty quickly that this team and vision was something I wanted to really be a part of. So just a little quick background on me. I'm a product person and an entrepreneur by trade. I ran a business in Chicago that was a creative agency that did some work with major brands like Sony and Ford and Heinz and Aflac and more. We also built custom software, and we also had a multi-room recording studio that recorded bands, and we did some music for film and TV. We ultimately scaled that software division, and it was acquired by CareerBuilder.com. I then worked in product management for a number of years, kind of really learning the craft of building software, with high focused, high skilled engineering teams. Again, I think Mike already mentioned, just at a company called Active Campaign, which is 250 million in revenue, like 60,000 customers globally. So when I first came into Copilot, my primary mission was just to really improve the stability of the software, help kind of professionalize the tech and product teams. I was brought in to consult, I think sometime around May of this year. And as Mike mentioned, there was hundreds of bugs. There was not a real clear process to resolve those. I'm sure many of you were right kind of in the thick of that as well. So I started consulting part-time and just help the engineering and product teams organization and just kind of put the processes in place just to build and scale the business. I've learned over the years, just working in high velocity, high impact product engineering teams, you have to have extraordinary engineering talent. And I've been fortunate to work with a lot of incredible engineers over the years. And some of those people are starting to kind of come fill the ranks at Copilot. So again, stability and just bringing in engineering talent was really the initial focus. We've made some considerable strides. So what have we done to date? I won't go through all of these, but here's some of the highlights. We've reduced the bug count by over 70%, which is substantial. We've also improved email deliverability from 91 to 95%. This means more marketing emails are making it through to customers. I'll tell you from experience, this is a really solid delivery rate. And it's super valuable to you when you're trying to spread the good word about your business. We've also improved the throughput of emails by over 10x. So it's much faster, higher volume emails being sent. A couple of the technical things, you don't spend a ton of time, but we Dockerize the code base. That just ensures every programmer working in the base runs the same version of software, helps prevent bugs. We've also moved to ECS, which allows us just to deploy new code kind of more gently, kind of in high traffic in the middle of the days, just to avoid interruption in your workflows. We've also optimized the database. This is probably the most compelling of kind of the technical, which has really increased the page load speed significantly inside the application. So just anecdotally, some of the heavier pages went from multiple seconds to load to under a second. We've also put quite a bit of work into the P4P integration. So there's been a ton of work just to improve the stability and reliability of the software, along with just building out the engineering teams with US-based talent, which really sets us up for new feature work. Next slide, please. So to that end, here's what's coming in 2025. We plan to continue to invest further in reliability and scalability of the platform, which will continue to set us up for more feature improvements, innovation. Again, I'll just cover a couple of these. We're rebuilding the UI in React. So React is a powerful user interface tool because it just enables our developers to build dynamic, reusable components effectively, just ensuring really fast rendering, fostering maintainable, scalable front-end code. We're investing a ton in improving the automation's reliability. So our engineering teams have been working hard to improve that feature just to ensure they're reliable and that we can innovate there because we know how much time automations can save. Quite a bit of work around payments hardening and reliability. So this is us really doubling down on the core loop of the function of the platform, just ensuring you're not having issues when you're taking payments from customers. So the rest on the list I won't cover. But again, it's all about us setting us up to scale and making sure we're super reliable. So enough of the kind of tech nerdy stuff. What will be delivered that actually helps your customer move the needle? So the first major flag in the ground for our deliverables is a brand new, modern, next generation client portal. So our goal with this delivery is really to help you make more money through a modernized design, look and feel, makes you look professional, but also increases conversion rates. So we're making it easier to see where an estimate is at the process and more obvious for your customers what they need to do. We're also surfacing deposit amounts earlier and just making changes to the deposit flow. Reduce time to payment. So intelligently surfacing invoices so you can get paid on time and customers don't forget. We remind them. Improvements to managing payment methods. We'll just make it easier for your customers to keep their payment info up to date, including expanding the payment options to include Apple and Google Pay, which will actually be rolling out pretty soon. Lastly, on Customer Portal, we're going to be improving the rate us or reviews function of the platform. So when a user leaves a 5-star review on our native system, we'll prompt them to do the same and give you that same review on Google reviews. If it's below a 5, we'll ask them, what will it take to become a 5-star service? and won't bump them to Google until they actually give you a 5 on the platform. We're also exploring allowing for reviews or feedback at the job level. So just imagine how nice it'd be to hear feedback from your customers when your service was completed. So we prompt them to give feedback just kind of at your discretion. It's optional, of course. Next slide, please. So as a part of the customer portal work, we're also updating and improving the estimates and invoices, both in the CRM, so when you're building an estimate, what your options are there, but also in the customer portal. So what does it look like to the end customer when they see your estimates or invoices? So here's just a handful of updates. Obviously, modernized design, look and feel. We want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward in these touch points. So a new header, which just prioritized statuses and history, a new cost summary, roll up in the sidebar, just helps end customers digest cost information and just take some actions quickly. Improving the estimate flow with credit card required for deposit. There's a lot of challenges around that historically in the platform. Also, when a customer declines an estimate, we can let them give us feedback on why and provide a nudge to request changes instead of declining. So in summary, the customer portal and all of the end customer facing assets will be improving your customers' interactions with you, making you look more professional, polished, and also helping you close more deals and make more money. Next slide, please. We're also working on a purpose-built mobile application for your field workers. We've seen a ton of demand for a mobile app that performs well in the wild when you might not have service, and that is really purpose-built for field workers. So easily clock in and out of jobs, find your next job on the schedule, take notes, add pictures, all, even when you're in a remote territory. So really excited about the app. We think it's gonna be a major game changer for our crew of field workers and just a big differentiator for Copilot. Next slide. We're also just working on a total refresh of the entire user interface in the platform. So this means faster loading times, it's all gonna be built in React, just more intelligent and simpler user flows, just a better all over experience for you and your colleagues. Lastly, here's a few things that we're going to be working on next year. So a wait list for accepted jobs. So easily find and schedule jobs that have been accepted but not scheduled. Multi-route, which is something that we're really excited about. We know will save considerable time, which allows you to optimize your routes in one click for all crews and employees across multiple days. Master routes. So master routes for all of your critical routes, easily dispatching them into the field. We're going to be putting a lot of work into our form builder. So for your work order and your visit forms, just giving you flexibility in the fields in the form and also just styling capabilities as well. I think Mike mentioned at the top of the call, we're going to be investing heavily in reporting. Again, our mission is to provide you with the information to know what to do next and why. And we're going to really be infusing Mike's knowledge into the platform, which will be a major differentiator for us in the coming years. And lastly, not feature related, but we're also building out a customer advisory board, putting together some things that kind of point to our commitment for quality and clear communication on progress. That customer advisory board is going to help us shape our roadmap. We're also going to be building a trust hub where you can see kind of the monitoring of our services. You can see bugs. You can see what our roadmap is, where we'd love to get feedback from customers. So all that to say, in summary, we have invested a lot in building the team and increasing reliability of the platform. We have a lot of exciting things coming up in 2025 and beyond. Back to you, Mike.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So right now, one thing that we did add recently was the white glove onboarding. And that's where the team will actually allow, our support team will get all the CSV imports into the system. So we're doing that now for everyone, basically, that is joining Copilot. So if you do decide to come back, please let us know. Anyone on this call, we're going to go ahead and continue to honor it. Just know that in December and January, as it gets super busy, sometimes we'll have to stop that if we start to get behind. But if you do need help getting CSV imports into Copilot, we will actually help white glove this with the support team, and Parker, our head of support, will help you with that. So I want to kind of just open it up from there and kind of go into answers and some questions and answers. And whether or not there are or not is completely fine. You might not have any questions based upon just the presentation. But if you have a specific question for myself or for Josh, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself, or you can even put it in the chat. If there's something in the chat, Lindsay, if you maybe want to just let us know, because I cannot see the chat. But otherwise, feel free to unmute yourself. Anything is on the table, and any questions you have for myself or Josh, feel free, go for it. Looks like, I did just get a notification from the chat.
Yeah, we've got one from Dave saying, can you give us a quick compare and contrast with Element?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, I would say that the strengths of LMN are their budgeting. Even for free users, the ability to run a budget, run it against comparable sized businesses in the industry, specifically for the green industry, very, very powerful. Their budgeting is, I would say, the best free tool in the landscape industry. I think that the part that I want to differentiate Copilot in the future from LMN is the ease and simplicity of the interface. The simplicity of being able to actually utilize those numbers. The struggle that I see, because I have used LMN before. We actually purchased a company about, I guess, 7 years ago in Bellingham, Washington, for my location, and they used LMN. So we used it for about 6 months as we kind of integrated the companies. And the challenging part, even more recently, as I've been in there using some of their tools, is the complexity of the system is really built for a company that has a large team in the office. It's very difficult to do some of their functions and understand some of the metrics. We just need to simplify it. We need it to be bite-sized. We need it to be simplified in the mobile app, the ability to be able to operate out on the road. Those are some of my major things. But more importantly is the marketing elements. And so like mass marketing from email and mass messaging, text messages through Copilot. Just the other day, I was with our franchisees in one of our WhatsApp groups. I'll actually just pull it up here. And he sent a message to 700 people via text message, just as a blast. And within 30 minutes, he had 20 estimates for Christmas lights. So those Christmas light leads, typically you pay about $100 to $200 per lead. So immediately with a blast text about 800 of his existing customers, getting 20 estimates is a huge boost to business. I am focused a lot when it comes to Copilot on two things. One is getting you more customers, and that's through the upsell, getting more leads, getting the text and the mass messaging, the email links, et cetera. And that's really our focus, is like the marketing aspect. And that's really what we've been trying to do for so long. And that will be the differentiator, I think, in the future, to answer his question more directly, is less about the numbers and the budgeting and the reports in a complex manner, but like, here's what you should do in your business based upon all these numbers that are happening in the background that we're recording. But here is actually what needs to happen. There needs to be a price increase on these 48 customers by a minimum of 10%. Otherwise, just let them go. Or this service area, based upon your service area, these customers outside of that, we should raise prices because you're at capacity. And so these KPIs are actually already in the KPI cockpit. It's a matter of taking those and then actually digesting them and giving them to you with confidence that what I'm saying is the right thing. Because if you've watched some of the turnarounds, you see, I'm looking at a couple of things, like what's your close ratio? What's your budget hours on the schedule? What's your capacity of budget hours? And then making an assumption based upon just a few metrics of what they should do next in the business. And that's a huge unlock, but that can absolutely be done with just knowing the numbers inside the software. And so that's our focus. That's our differentiator as we move forward.
Okay, thanks.
You got it, Dave. Chris.
We've got a couple more questions.
Go ahead, Lindsay.
Oh yeah, you can see them?
You read them off. I can see them now, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Chris asks, is lawn care program coming soon? Estimating operations.
I'm not sure what he's meaning by, oh, you mean programming. So you're talking like different packages. So this is something that is not currently being worked on, but it is definitely on our horizon. We've been scoping this out. The product team led by Josh, as well as Stephen George, our head of product, has been looking and talking with multiple users about how they're using chemicals, how they're using programming. The wait list is going to be the first step in that direction. I think that the wait list will probably solve a lot of the problems that I've seen some people run into inside of Copilot. There are chemical companies that do programs inside of Copilot, but they've modified their systems to work inside the constraints. I do believe the waitlist will unlock a large portion of members based upon their workflow. I do believe that there's improvements to the programming for chemical applications specifically and programs that down the road we will work on. It is not currently our priority, but it's absolutely something we know is going to be important, especially in the green industry. And I believe that there are several things, including the multi-route, the master routes, and the waitlist in 2025 that will make a huge dent in what is going to be enabled for those services specifically. Just keep going, Lindsay.
Okay, so we got Aaron asking about, can you speak on the QuickBooks Sync reliability and also chemical scheduling, tracking, etc.?
Awesome. Yeah. So thanks, Aaron. So I've talked to 3 different founders that have exited CRMs in the past. And every single one of them has said that the QuickBooks Sync is an absolute nightmare. And the reason for that is because of the two-way sync abilities. And so we are moving to a one-way sync. This is something that you're going to actually hear about over the next couple weeks. Josh, did you want to speak to that just briefly?
No, just to reiterate what you're saying, we're actually have it pushed out into production behind a feature flag. We're just doing a little bit of testing, but we will be going to one-way sync for all net new customers and then updating existing customers with one-way sync, just exactly what Mike said, because of a lot of the complexities with the two-way sync.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when we hear one-way sync versus two-way sync, we're like, two-way, that sounds fantastic. Like it must be twice as good as one-way. In reality, when you have two different databases that are syncing with each other, it is fraught with a massive amount of any sort of issue in either one having huge complications, whether it be in QuickBooks or inside of Copilot. Having a one-way means that you have one source of truth and everything from Copilot is being transferred that data across. And so we have done this also with P4P software and Copilot. It's a one-way sync. It's much more reliable. And I have talked to other founders that have exited the CRM world, and they say this is one of their biggest regrets is never moving from a two-way to a one-way. So Josh is currently in touch with I think almost every one of the current QuickBooks synced members inside of Copilot and is making sure that they see this first, they test it, and then over the next few weeks, I would anticipate by January 1st for sure, it would be kind of the de facto for everyone.
Yep, that's right.
Well, go ahead, Lindsay.
He also asked about the chemical scheduling and tracking. Any updates on that?
So chemical tracking in terms of like when you show up to a visit and it immediately captures the wind, the temperature, et cetera, that is currently inside the software. In terms of the programming aspect, I kind of spoke to that just a few moments ago in terms of how you set programs. It's there. There are some functionalities I think the waitlist alone is going to be able to bring to the table in terms of scheduling those programs. But we are definitely scoping out and looking at, and we just want to do things in a much more thoughtful way. And so Josh has really brought a lot of the stability to the organization in terms of how do we think about features? How do we think about rolling things out? And so when we talk about what we're talking about today, with confidence, I know these things will be rolled out well. I'm not just going to blindly say, oh, we're going to do that. Like it's not going to happen in 2025. The chemical features, chemical things that you might be looking for. But there, I do believe that a lot of people we serve well with the waitlist, multi-route and master routes, and serve their needs substantially more when it comes to chemicals and programs. But we are scoping this out and talking to members of like, where are the bottlenecks in your systems and in your processes when it comes to having 500, 1,000 different chemical treatments and programming. And it's something that when we roll it out, it'll be done thoughtfully and done well.
All right, we've got a comment or question from Matt saying he had to leave because of the bugs that were constantly sending out messages all through the night that their job was complete. Customers getting upset. He didn't want them, customers being upset that they didn't have them on the schedule. They didn't want their card to be charged. Also commented on the weed control and fertilization side for applications and the live weather being available. So not quite sure if there's a question there, but maybe a couple comments on those topics.
Yeah, that's epic. So few things. First off, when it comes to the level of priority that we consider a incident inside of Copilot, if it is affecting your customers, it is the most important thing to us. If your customers are getting text messages or emails or payments that should not be happening, this is what we consider a P1 level priority. We have 5 different levels of incidents inside of Copilot, and we track this religiously. If it hits a certain level in terms of P1, where it is contacting your customers, there is an immediate on-call 24/7 staff that will be hopping on this as an engineer. We've created this incident response over the past few months as Josh has come on the team. Engineering has really taken this over. And I'm very confident that if this ever happened, it would be extinguished quickly. I would say also that in the past couple months, this has not happened. And it is because of the incident response, but also because of the way that we are doing testing when we deploy things. The vast majority of those issues that are mentioned in terms of mass messages going out, customers repeatedly being messaged, payments going through, happened because as a result of poor testing when we deployed new features. And so we would deploy something, and in the back end, one line of code was messing up something on a completely different page that had nothing to do with the feature that was released. This is the type of thing that has been, I genuinely believe will be extinguished because of automated testing as well as UAT, where we actually do a much thorough investigation at every single page. We test the core loop and the features and the functions before deploying. And so this is the most important thing to us. If it's affecting your customers, We have no tolerance for it. And this is the thing that affected me the most when it came to last spring, when this was happening, is because we cannot damage your business. And like, this is the thing that killed me, because like my whole brand is built on helping small businesses and helping you improve your business. This happening is the worst thing you could possibly have as a small business owner, where text messages are going out unbridled, emails are going out unbridled, and customers are getting frustrated. And so we take this extremely seriously. I would not blame you for leaving earlier this year because of this. And so there are a lot of stop measures and gaps that we have in terms of insights, and like some of the things that Josh mentioned are techno jargon to all of us, but it's a matter of giving further insights and observability to myself, to the engineering team, to leadership as to what is happening to text messages and emails. Instead of just like, oh, they're going out. It's like, we immediately would be able to have a dashboard. Think, why is that happening? Where's the bottleneck? What's occurring inside the code base? And from a dashboard perspective. And so that's what we've been building the back end that had, because it's not sexy. I can't advertise these fancy new features like we were in 2023, but this is the type of thing that from a reliability and stability perspective is imperative to make sure we can continue to move forward. And as we add these features, we don't break the core loop of what you need. And that is to satisfy the customer. Like a CRM is a customer relationship management. If you break the relationship, like we have miserably failed. And so this is the number one priority to us inside the company. And obviously if that was your experience, and I had my own businesses and locations that experienced this, it stinks. And I'm very sorry for it. Just know that there has not been any resource left unused and untapped to ensure that this does not happen again.
Just to echo what Mike has been saying, and just affirm it, we're implementing a culture of quality across the entire business and the engineering team. Like test-driven development, which means every engineer, they're required to test absolutely everything end to end. And then we go through a formal user acceptance testing day where a product manager is actually testing everything across the platform. This has really, really helped reduce incidents and problems. So just wanted to call out that quality is a major focus of the business.
Shane asked a question here. I got Lindsay. Sorry, you're muting yourself. Do you have any offline capability in the app in case of internet disruption? It's the main reason, Shane, that we are doing the native mobile app. Currently, the app, although it looks like it's a separate app on the phone, when you log in, it's really going off of the web-based app. And what that means is if you lose internet connection, if you're in a spotty service area, especially if you have a lot of hills. Last year when I went out to North Carolina and started a location in South Park, there was one side of my market. I just knew if I went over there, I was going to lose internet service because it was super hilly on the south side of Charlotte. And so when that happens, you can't attach photos. You can't see the job notes. So what I'd do is I'd screenshot to make sure I knew what to do when I went into those jobs. This is the main reason why we're having this. Also, by having this native app, we're going to have to create API endpoints that down the road we'll be able to open up to other developers to be able to connect to Copilot. So if there's a pet feature or some specific software you want, they can actually create a backdoor directly in the software, not just using Zapier, but actually using a custom integration. And so the offline mode is the number one reason for having the native mobile app, and to make it where the mobile app is built for your field crew that's out in the field. The web app is fantastic in that it has so much functionality, but most of your crew uses like the schedule and the dispatch board maybe, and that's it. So the ability for them to be able to stay on that, and it's optimized from a UI user interface perspective, but also from a functionality perspective, so they can see notes offline. They can take pictures of a job and then it syncs back to the cloud once they get back in service. These are super important, and to be able to track time, start and stop times on those jobs. So this is number one, very important for the native app.
Appreciate it.
You got it. Brady's Landscaping asks, what is the main selling point versus platforms like Service Autopilot or Jobber? I'll be clear on this one. If it's a snapshot in time immediately right now, or really more specifically a few months ago specifically, if someone was like, if nothing was to change in the next 5 years and you had to bet your business on any software, I would probably not choose Copilot. However, the thing that I think differentiates Copilot from these other platforms is the fact that they are being led by private equity or venture capital. And I genuinely believe that a founder's mentality that is in this industry for the very long haul is extremely important to ensuring that the next couple of years, not just the next couple of years are good for the platform, but the next 10 to 20 years. I am not leaving. I have hundreds of locations that use this platform. I believe that I have a lot of insights to the home service industry and what the pain points are, whether it be from web design, whether it be from the tax service that we have, that the marketing aspects. I really do believe I have a pulse that is unique. And it's not to say like I'm good or great. It's just a matter of, I think it's unique. And I think I can utilize that to have a differentiation in the market, whether it be from pay for performance. No one else is going to integrate pay for performance into their software like we're going to. No one is going to look at marketing as the core function of the CRM. A CRM is like, even using Copilot, the word CRM is somewhat false, because like we are a marketing platform. We are trying to get you more leads. We're trying to get you upsells. We're trying to do cross sells. And this is the type of thing that we focused on, because I know that's the actual bottleneck to the business. Not having fancy features, not having fancy buttons. And the vast majority of these platforms, and I know many of the founders, I know many of the people have moved on from the companies after they got sold to private equity, after they've gone public, after they've been sold. And that's really the differentiation. As a snapshot in time, the features from a feature parity perspective, the things that we're creating over the next 12 to 24 months, some of these platforms already have. I do genuinely believe, though, it's a matter of what am I building my business on for the long term, and what is going to be actually innovated on. And what we did in 2023 in terms of adding new features, that is what we can get back to. 2024 was a matter of stability, ironing things out in terms of the back end, so we don't have all the issues that we had. But we will get back on that track. And I genuinely believe that in the long term, it'll be the right thing for every home service business owner. Next one, let's see here. Can you do sales campaigns where you set up sales texts or emails to go out at certain times of year? So we don't have scheduling of messages currently. This is something that Josh has brought up, and he's seen this a lot at Active Campaign in terms of selecting best time of the day, et cetera. Even Nathan, our head of design, has mentioned this before. This is not currently something we're working on, but certainly campaigns as a whole, to be able to track the response back from a bulk message, like a text or an email, and be able to track like how many leads did I actually get from that, instead of having to do some reporting yourself, or like what time of day did they respond back. But you actually to track this. This is something certainly on the horizon for us. Is chemical tracking and reporting available for chemical treatments? Yes, Madison. I'm assuming when you say chemical treatment reporting, it's like the weather, the wind, et cetera. Yes, when you set that up, you can have where it'll immediately capture that information based upon where you're at, using your GPS coordinates. Matt says, what about the opt-in text that the customer has to accept first before you can send a text now? How are y'all navigating this? This is because of the new law that was passed this year. This is excellent. So we are putting this on our members. I know several CRMs are forcing you to send a certain form out prior. We are making sure that when we set up this with Twilio, which is the company, the third party that we use for actually sending out messages, we're making sure we're fully compliant with them. We're going through several things right now with product to be able to ensure that down the road, you can actually yourself submit and get your phone number from Twilio. This will allow to ensure that if someone is misusing the system, it doesn't impact our deliverability as a whole. Now, I will say this. 6 months ago, when a lot of you were using the software, your text might take 3, 4, 5 minutes to go out when you sent one out. As a bulk message, it might take an hour or two when you're sending out thousands of messages. Right now, within a matter of 2 to 3 seconds, I am getting a single text messages. This is, again, because of deliverability and the back end changes. This is not a new feature. This is a matter of stability. These are things Josh mentioned throughout the call that are making a real impact to the business and to the customers. Now, when you send a message one-on-one to a customer in the two-way text, you're getting within a matter of a couple seconds. And so in terms of the opt-in form from Twilio, we are leaving it on the customers to be able to ensure that when someone submits an estimate request form, that you should have that they are agreeing to opt into text messages and emails. Now, that being said, we are entering a process to make sure we're in compliance, that down the road in 2025, you will sign up through Twilio yourself, and you will have to go through their compliance. And what they will be doing is ensuring that you're actually doing that. But we are not enforcing that you must have the form filled out by customers and submitted to us and all the rest of it. We are putting that liability on you. And then in 2024, we'll be ensuring that the compliance aspect would sign up, have the Twilio account yourself, mostly to ensure that if there is a bad actor inside of Copilot, it doesn't affect all of our deliverability. But as it can't currently stand, that's not happening. Josh, did you want to add to that? I know you've been knee deep in this stuff.
Not a ton to add other than what you said. We're doing a lot of work with Twilio around compliance, and you'll see some pretty substantial changes going into next year. This is an interesting one about the opt-in text, though. I might take that down and look a little bit further into it just to make it a little bit more seamless. But like Mike said, for now, the onus is on you to make sure that you have authorization to send text to your customers.
Yeah, like so we use a previous CRM prior to 2024 inside of Augusta, and once they enforced this, it basically made it where we couldn't use it for marketing because no one is going to opt into it. As long as I make a very easy way for them to opt out, which is in this case is reply stop. It makes it very seamless for them to be able to opt out. I actually use Copilot for my gym as well as internally inside of the franchise for all of my communication. So I use mostly around the texting aspect because it's super easy to be able to do that and get set up. So same thing applies. As long as I make it easy for them to opt out, I have not had any compliance issues whatsoever. We are really making sure though with Twilio that we are going to be in compliance with them. And a lot of that will be put on, you will have to set up your Twilio account yourself and then you'll sync it inside of Copilot. Madison was talking about, looks like the tracking actual quantities and products used. Madison, you might want to hop on a call with Christian. He can walk you through what the current capabilities are in terms of chemicals and see if it would fit in terms of tracking certain quantities, et cetera, in terms of the products. I know that inside of items and services, you can track inventory, et cetera. But I want to make sure it's actually what you're looking for because I know with chemicals, everyone has a very specific kind of workflow. Brady's Landscaping, is there a feature where I can have a form link on my website that takes them to an estimate request form? This is the work request form. Currently, as it stands, there's not a huge amount of customizability. And so what we are planning, as you saw in the 2025 feature list that we're working on, is the ability to do custom forms. And that is where it will be internal forms, but also external to customers for specific services, have different pages, et cetera, to be able to build these forms out. So it's on the horizon in terms of customizability, but there is currently a work request form that you could have as a link. You can also do as an embedded code on your website. So yes, you can absolutely do that. And furthermore, I would say you could, if you like a certain form builder, for example, like JotForm or Google Form or any of those other form builders, you can connect it from your website with Zapier directly into Copilot. If we already have a Twilio account with current CRM and switch, do we have to set up a new Twilio account? Josh, can you speak to this? I don't think we can port in, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I was going to reply on that one. Chuck, if you're interested in coming over, we might be able to sort it out. We'd have to kind of go through our support mechanism, but I'm fairly certain that we should be able to port the number, but we'll just need to double check. I don't want to overpromise. So Chuck, I was going to leave my email address just in the thread. If you're interested, please feel free to reach out to me or to Christian.
Eric asked, will stability of the software be a continued focus in the future? Yeah, absolutely. So on the back end, in terms of the engineering team, the way we've split it up, Eric, is we have 3 different teams, one of which is purely dedicated to simply the stability of the system. And that's bugs, that is incidents, et cetera. That team is being retooled over the next 6 to 12 months, and they have been throughout this year. And their only focus is on the stability and the bug side of things. On the back end, we have some very high level engineers that are working on the infrastructure. And so whether it be security, and we really look, one thing Josh has been talking a lot about to me recently is like security is a feature. Like how can we actually prove to all of our members that like our level of security is at a very high degree, especially because these are showstoppers. If someone gets into the system and can take your customer data or do something crazy like that, that's a showstopper. And really looking at security as a vital piece of the client portal, for example. So things that we have around authentication. So when a user clicks on an estimate link, they are able to have access to their client portal for a certain period of time, and then it would require them to log in. These are types of things that we are really looking at in to nail down these backend stability and infrastructure things. And so I would say from a priority perspective, the number one thing is stability. Like if there's an incident, that takes priority over any of the things that we've mentioned today. And this is why we're not giving definitive dates. This is why we haven't even talked about something like the QuickBooks integration being updated over the next week or 2, even though it's ready to go. When we roll things out, it'll be done much more in a much more controlled fashion, a lot more testing. And the customer advisory board in the next couple of weeks will be getting the client portal prior to everyone else, giving feedback, and then it'll be released throughout December and January. But it'll just be done in a much more controlled fashion to protect the stability of the system and ensure the core loop in terms of why you use a CRM is actually protected. Let's see. We got Brady. Is there a change? Is there a charge for adding team members? I thought I seen a charge per member added, but didn't know if that was just for the office staff and my field guys could still use the app for clock in and out and dispatching without an added charge. So if you want someone to have access to the mobile app and clock in and out, it's a $15 per month user fee for everyone that is clocking in and out. Now, if they're not going to clock in and out, you do not need to have a mobile app access. So for example, if you have non-drivers, or if you have laborers that are not looking at the job notes or don't need access to the mobile app, they can be a employee inside the system, and you do not need to pay. It's only if they're going to have mobile app access and clock in and out on jobs. Cool. Any other questions whatsoever? That's it for in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself too. This is not just only chat. If you want to unmute yourself, feel free to go ahead. QB integration. When sync happens, does it show sales as a total in QB, or does the sync break out of service types? Josh, can you speak to this one specifically? Or is this going to be tested next week with the...
Yeah, this will be tested coming next week. I don't know specifically. Parker, I don't know if you you are aware on that specific.
Yeah, currently it should break out into specific service types. It shouldn't bundle it all into one and just say sales. It should break out into multiple different types. So we'll try to make sure that we can keep that, when we switch to the one-way sync.
Yeah, the goal of the one-way sync is really to ensure that you don't ever have where you walk into either Copilot or QuickBooks and all of a sudden see thousands of unpaid invoices or thousands of payments that are unmatched. When you see that, like, your blood pressure goes through the roof. I've seen it before, and that's the last thing we want to happen. That's like the equivalent of all of a sudden realizing all these text messages went out to your customers or invoices went out when they weren't supposed to. And so we can prevent that simply by making it a one-way sync where you have a source of truth, and that's going to be inside of your QuickBooks account. Fantastic. Anyone else have any other questions? Let's see. We got Matt. Thank you for the email. Oh, that's to Josh. When I went back with SA, the two-way texting was a nightmare. So far, I have only 50 people opt in text out of 150. I had to send an email with a form for them to check first, and then I was able to text that person. Yeah, I'm very familiar with the SA process of what they're doing with the form, and it's just very difficult to get customers to opt in. And ultimately, I believe that texting can be used as a marketing tool. It's the highest converting communication mechanism by far. Like, we used to use email for one-click estimate emails inside of Augusta, and that was like our jam. If we could get 0.25% response rate, we were happy. Maybe 40 to 60% open rate if we were lucky. With texting, it's basically opened up 100% of the time, and the response rate is through the roof. As long as you don't misuse it and abuse it, it can be used effectively. And so the ability for us to be able to see what you're sending out is super helpful too, because if there's a malicious account or someone that is misusing that, we will can them to prevent any sort of cross-contamination inside the system. And then going forward, having individual accounts inside Twilio will also ensure that if someone is out of compliance, Twilio will immediately shut them down, and it will not affect the pool inside of Copilot. Let's see. Questions. Does each member of a crew need to clock in to be used in P4P, or can the crew leader clock in the text on each job? Great question, Madison. This is something we brought up yesterday significantly in our scoping out, because when it comes to P4P, currently with the sync across to P4P integration, they do need to each have their individual account. What we are scoping out and seeing is, like, can we down the road have it where a crew leader, when they clock in, it clocks in everyone in their crew. So this is something we're scoping out currently, because right now they would need individually clock in to track their time, and that would be used inside of P4P, obviously. So this is something we are currently looking at. This has been brought up, and we've been looking at it extensively. Where will there be service history in the new client portal? I'm pretty confident saying yes on this one. Josh, do you want to speak to that though? I don't have the screenshots in front of me.
Yes, indeed. There will be service history. There'll be a historic record of all of the visits. Also just who's viewed, invoices and estimates, all of those details, Aaron.
One of the things that I love the most, honestly, about the upcoming client portal is that when someone rejects an estimate, they have to give feedback. And then what we are trying to push them towards doing is requesting a change instead of declining the estimate. It's very important. Now, we don't want to hide the decline button. This is something that I've seen in other CRMs that I think is very frustrating to users. And it's very difficult to follow up religiously with customers if they don't actually have an option to decline the estimate. And so this is something that we really thought about because like we need to have the decline estimate button so that I can religiously follow up until they click that button. But then I also, when they do click cancel or declining the estimate, I'm trying to push them in the direction of giving us feedback or requesting changes instead of declining it completely. So there's a few things that even if you go back in the recording, you can see that are really thought through in terms of the navigation, just simply of accepting estimates and paying even invoices. So for example, like on that invoice screenshot that Josh showed in a slide, making sure that the pay outstanding balance is the button that is highlighted, not paying the invoice. It'll be there to pay the invoice that they're currently looking at, but the outstanding balance is really what we want them to pay. Because the most frustrating thing I always had in the past was they pay the invoice I sent them, but the 2 outstanding invoices they never paid. So these are the type of little things we're trying to really adjust inside the client portal. A Grass Monkey asks, if we have not historically synced Copilot with QuickBooks and want to start, would we need to start a new QB account, or can it sync with an existing QB account? It can sync with an existing one, a Grass Monkey. I would say within the next week or two, you will probably have full access to this in production after we've had some members test it that currently are using the sync. And so I would probably wait till then. And then once we announce it, feel free to hop in there and do the one-way sync, but it can absolutely sync with an existing account. Matt asked, will I have to do this process again if I come back? Let's see what your previous question was. Oh, the two-way texting. No. So if you're gonna come back, and you will not need to do the whole form thing to customers. What happens is you go into the texting platform, you submit the phone number that you want. There's usually several options for every area code. And then within 2 to 3 days, you're able to start sending text messages. You can send that to anyone inside your database. The only reason we would ever can your account or delete it outside Twilio is if we see you sending out spam stuff and you're not allowing people to opt out. They simply have to respond back stop, and it'll immediately never allow a text message to come to that account again unless they specifically say, I think it's start. And then it'll allow for the messages to come through again. So you will not need to send out the form to opt in for customers to opt in. Can client history be imported from a CRM? Depends which CRM you're coming from. To my knowledge, almost every CRM does not export the client history in terms of jobs that are done, et cetera. And even if it is SA5, I think that's the one from Australia. Unless you're talking about Service Autopilot, but I think you're talking about SA5, which is actually out in Australia, if I'm correct. But if they can export it, you have a chance of being able to import it. Oh, Service Assistant. Okay, so it's a completely different CRM. I'm not sure because I have not seen that software specifically. I haven't seen what they can export. If they can export it, what I would recommend doing, Madison, is export what they got in terms of like client history, customers, items and services, etc. Hop on a call with the support team and just say like, hey, what can I import here? Because we have several avenues to import items and services, import customer data, etc. I have yet to see a CRM that will export enough to where you would actually want to do it as an import. Most of the time, you're still going to want to do it manually. You're going to want to make sure that the customer's data is correct. And so this is though something that for now we're offering to people, and we will do it for you as much as we possibly can as a white glove service to get you in. So just talk to support, see what they can do for you. But we could potentially do this for you. Cool. All right. Anyone else before we call it a day? Going once. Going twice. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. We will send this recording out to everyone here. And I just want to close out by saying thank you again for even coming on the webinar and talking to us. I really appreciate it. And for those that might watch the recording and think this is all like a big sales pitch, just know that I am sorry for what has been in the past. I've done everything possible to ensure that going forward, that will not happen again. And it will continue to be able to actually create tools for your business to grow. I'm very confident in the team, on the engineering side, on the product side, the changes that we have made. And we will continue to be as transparent as possible, what has happened, what is happening, and what's on the horizon. And I really appreciate each of you for even considering it again after what's happened earlier in this year. And I know we burned a lot of people. And so my commitment is that we will come back and that we will make it worth your while to make Copilot your home. So I appreciate you all tremendously. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Have an awesome Thanksgiving next week, and we will see you very soon. Take care.